What's going on? You listening to King Cam Ujumbe Podcast, and Ujumbe means a message. Yeah. As Brother Ferguson said, it's back to school. You understand me? See, there's some things that we got to address and discuss today. Yeah, I'm glad that you're here. I hope all is well with you. And so today we're going to talk about the hidden chambers of Amun. Yeah. We're on that time today. The hidden chambers of Amun, the secrets beneath the temple of Karnak. Yeah, for the last time we came together, last time we got together, we discussed the temple as a whole, but I did not know there was crypts and subterranean spaces in Karnak. Yeah. I found that out like a few weeks ago. See, this is what happens when you give me a lot of time. Thank you, leadership, for giving me a little time. But unfortunately, life has knocked the life out of me for like the last month or so. So I had to kind of step back a little bit. But I'm thankful that you guys are here, ready to roll and ready to work. But yeah, we are live. And yes, it is Friday. I understand, I get it, but we had to make some adjustments. We had to make some adjustments about it. And some of the family want to get together on Sundays, and so I had to. I was really thinking about whether or not I should just record this or go live. Brother Ferguson said, "Forget it, go live. Let's do it." So hit the like button and greet everybody as you come in. This is about to be fun because when you give King Cam some off time, I have 2 stacks of notes. Yeah, I got 2. So yeah, and so because we had so much off time, we got a bonus today. So yeah, greeting Miss Blue. What's going on? I'm glad that you are here. But yeah, like Brother Ferguson said, it's back to school. You understand me? I gave y'all a little fall break. So yeah, welcome back, everybody. We're going to journey through the hidden histories and sacred spaces of ancient Egypt, which is in ancient Africa, right? And so as we move beyond the towering columns of Karnak's Hypostyle Hall, the air grows colder. Okay, it gets cooler, it gets quieter. It goes from the public spaces that everybody know and understand to those secret chambers. Here in the corridors, hidden in the gaze of ordinary people, ordinary worshipers, lie beneath the surface, the chambers of Amun. And get this, Osiris. Yeah. I learned something new a few days ago. So I gotta put it in here. I gotta do it. So these spaces weren't just say storage rooms or something like that, or secondary chapels as we discussed. They were living vessels of divine energy for the ancestors, for the Neteru, carefully designed to maintain balance, to maintain ma'at. That is cosmic balance, that is order between the gods, the kings, the ancestors, and humanity. So today, we're going to get into the heart of Karnak. Yeah, we're going to get into the heart of Karnak, where sacred knowledge was preserved and passed down from mouth to ear. Rituals were perfected, and the very architecture itself became a conduit between the earth and the sky. So here's some of the questions. Stan, we gotta do it, right? So the questions are: how did the hidden chambers of Karnak function as both physical and spiritual spaces? And what does this reveal about the Egyptians' understanding of the divine or the Neteru? Okay. Number 2, in what ways did the sacred objects, statues, ritual vessels, barques, or the boat serve as living conduits of divine power? And what is the significance of the subterranean crypts? That is where we're going to get down, right? Subterranean crypts and the Osirian resurrection rites. Rites of passage, Brother Ferguson. Yes, sir. Man. See, that's what happened. Y'all give me some time off. So, resurrection rites and understanding Egyptian concepts of death, rebirth, and the cyclical nature of the cosmos. And number 4, how can the preservation and continued resonance of Karnak's hidden chambers inform our modern understanding of sacred knowledge, consciousness, and the human relationship to the unseen. So today we're going to talk about sacred relics and statues because I kind of touched on it, but I kept it moving. So I'm going to add a little bit more to it, right? Next thing, I'm going to talk about the hidden chambers, the inner chamber, and a bonus. Yeah, shout out to the Ujumbe membership who made that bonus possible. Really appreciate it. And we got a little Q&A, so bring your questions and we may have answers. And yes, I'm checking roll. Okay, so get this. Today, we're going to get into the crux of the matter. So you see, when most people think of Karnak or Opet, Esut, or the most selective places, or the Grand Lodge of Waset, the Grand Temple of Waset, they imagine the grandeur that's visible to everybody. See, they see the massive pylons, the forest of columns, the hypostyle hall, the towering obelisk, catching the sun's rays. And granted, if I'm there, I am straight eyeballing everything, right? But beneath that, behind that, what the public sees or the public facade lies some kind of divine power. See, at Karnak of whispers and shadows, a Karnak of sealed doors and secret rituals, Karnak where the true mysteries of Amun and see, here's the thing. See, we have to remember that Karnak, this temple was built over ages. You see what I'm saying? And so when we think of Amun, that is the new kingdom era. The older kingdom, what they ascribe themselves, align themselves to Osiris. They just built on that foundation and added on to it, right? And so the mysteries were guarded generation after generation for over 2,000 plus years. And I asked the students a lot at the high school that I teach at. I asked them, I asked them how old they are. A lot of them, they would say 17, 18 years old, okay? And I would tell them, when King Tut was the same age as you. When he saw the pyramids was already old by the time he got there. That's wild. That's crazy. And so the ancient Egyptians, ancient people of Kemet understood something profound, that most sacred truths are never displayed openly. The divine, the Neteru, hides itself even as it sustains all life, right? So now we have the outer courts. Those were for the people, for the processions, and for the spectacle, and for the pomp and circumstance, right? And we had the rituals, we have the ceremonies, the festivals that happen year to year. We're going to talk about one today, all right? And then we have the others. Remember, we discussed the priesthood, the hierarchy of the priesthood, and everything, where you had to be trained, you had to be prepared from one level to the next. To be the Kariheb or to be the Wabet priest, you had to be prepared. And so we have the hidden one, okay? Amun, whose very name means the hidden one, embodied these principles. His principles reflected very clearly and perfectly that a lot of things are not revealed. Matter of fact, we're going to find out that even Amun and Osiris was revealed in darkness and not in light. Yeah. So there's the outer courts, and then you have the inner sanctuary, right? The Jesseru, Brother Ferguson and Miss Blue, the Jesseru, the most sacred places. Okay, hit the like button and greet everybody as you come in. But yeah, the Jesseru, where it all happens, right? And remember, the middle kingdom, the older kingdoms built this space first, then they expanded. Okay, but the inner sanctuaries, the subterranean areas, is what we're going to focus on. See what I'm saying? And so the crypts beneath the altars, the crypts below this, the Jesseru, the sealed chambers below all of this, where the Neteru and the ancestors sleep in darkness between festivals. See what I'm saying? These are the mysteries that we're talking about. This is the secret knowledge that some of us who've been following for a minute have been kind of looking for. right? So today we're going to go inside those forbidden spaces if we can, right? we'll have a discussion and explore the chapels where pharaohs saw divine renewal, and the underground crypts where Osirian resurrection rites unfolded, where Osiris was raised. Yeah. And so from in total darkness and the sanctuary of the Barque, we may get to the solar Barque today, but we got a lot on our plate to eat today. But this journey will take us through the layers of Egyptian spiritual and Kemetic science, sacred geometry encoded in architecture, rituals, practices designed to give us an understanding of what the world, give us an understanding of the world around us. Um, and also understand the process of the priesthood and how their process was so precise that a single mispronounced word would disrupt the balance of the whole universe. So, like I said, get you something to write on and something to write with. We about to have a little fun. So I hope you have some popcorn, have a little drink, have a little something or whatever. It's Friday. You see what I'm saying? We're gonna have a good time, right? So because we're about to go into we're going into the depths, the deep hidden chambers of the Neteru. So let's go. Let's go. We're gonna talk about the sacred relics and statues and vessels of power. So before we go into the inner chambers, we got to understand some of the vessels and relics that they use, right? And so now let's talk about it. Let's talk about the sacred relics and statues that filled the hidden chambers. They weren't just art or something nice to put up, you know what I'm saying? Some decorations, right? They were vessels of divine power, carefully crafted according to sacred proportions, consecrated through elaborate rituals and knowledge. And the thing is, a lot of people say that's magic, but in reality, that is metaphysics, that is science. See what I'm saying? And the ancestors maintained this with precision. You see what I'm saying? And so they had those statues. The in those inner sanctuaries, the sacred objects were everywhere, but they weren't just haphazardly placed. Everything had its place, and everything meant something. And I've learned that in the last month or so, that even in your own house, if you're not paying, if you are kind of aware, sometimes you do things unaware, but you will place certain things in your house, and that's the science behind that, right? So the statues of the Neteru were often clothed in linen and adorned with jewelry. But here's the thing. Um, they weren't they weren't permanent fixtures. These statues were dressed and undressed daily, like people. See what I'm saying? Each morning, after the doors are open, the Neteru awaken. The priest will remove the old linen and wash the statue with sacred water, anoint it with oils, and apply the cosmetics and dress it with fresh garments. Sometimes some of the statues' eyes would glow uh, with some kind of sacred stone like lapis lazuli, right? Lapis lazuli, where they were designed to catch and reflect the light. So it seemed like these eyes were some sort of portal from one world to the next. So giving light to those sacred spaces. When the light hit the statue's eyes at the right angle, it seemed like the God's essence or the Neteru's essence was understood to be present, gazing out through the stone, metal, or wood, right? So we have like texts like the Book of Coming Forth by Day. Shout out to Baba Yahya Shabaka. He has been an encouraging person throughout these last few months, encouraging me to make sure I stay on point. And speaking of that, what's Sister Linda? She's back. What's going on, Sister Linda? She's greetings everyone. Greetings, King Cam and viewers. Shout out to Sister Linda. Give my love in regards to the fam. All right, so we back. We're gonna have a good time. So this is gonna be good. And so yeah, so Baba Yaka encouraged me to make sure that I'm staying up with my research and my studies. So and he's doing something fantastic with this phenomenon, with this I think Atlas 3. Okay, it's a comet that's getting closer and closer to the sun, and it's a different kind of form and shape than the other comets. And it came from Sirius. We talked about that, right? So we have like statues of the divine family where we have the Neteru Maut statues were accompanied by offerings of milk, bread, and flowers. The goddess as divine mother. The goddess Mut or Maut, was one of the older Nubian Neteru. Okay, and that's the reason why I have this Nubian sister right next to the image of Mut, right? And so her statue is often shown as her wearing the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt, emphasizing her role as the mother of divine kingship itself. Then we have Khonsu, there's a Khonsu's lunar chamber in Karnak. It contained vessels aligned with the moon's phases during the new moon. Certain vessels would be filled, and as the moon waxed others others would come in. So the full moon brought its own specific offerings and specific energy. So the priest tracked the lunar cycles with precision, understanding that Khonsu's energy waxed and waned with the moon, and that offerings had to align with the cosmic rhythms. Okay, and so this is one of my favorite images. This is the Old Kingdom King Menkaure, and on his right, your left, that is Heteru, and this is a personification of a gnome. Okay, I always love that image. So it shows the connection between the man and the woman, how they are not behind him or below him, they are next to him, supporting him in this effort, moving forward, right? Okay, and so the ritual vessels were more than, say, ceremonial tools, right? And so they were more than tools. The bronze chalices, bowls, and cisterns were carefully tuned, creating sound frequencies that resonate within the stone corridors. Okay, so let me explain this. We have Ramses with those vessels and with bronze vessels, and his father Seti the first teaching him the knowledge of the king's list. Okay, everybody who was named and recognized as king was on that list, not including I know she wasn't born yet, but I don't care. Cleopatra wasn't on the king's list. I know she wasn't born yet, but still, you understand me? I don't give a darn, you know what I'm saying? And so we have things like the sistrum. This is Sobek Neferu's sister, okay, holding the sistrum, a handheld rattle used in ritual. It wasn't just noise, it was engineered sound. The metal bars were spaced in specific intervals to create a particular frequency when shaken. Very similar to our sisters in the church when they use the tambourine. I'm just saying. And so Egyptian metallurgists understood resonance, they understood how sound waves move through different materials, and the sistrum or the tambourine was used in rituals and sacred times and spaces. They were tuned to this to present that harmony and divine energy. And of course, you had the bronze bowls when struck. A lot of people use bronze bowls now. I'm not really privy to that kind of knowledge, so I don't try it, right? But when struck, they create they make a singing tone, for meditation and relaxation, and it would last for minutes, right? And these were used in meditation and ritual timing and creating the sonic environment that facilitated altered states of consciousness. Now we're talking about ancient acoustic science, because reality is music is a science, right? Music is a vibration. And that's the reason why people respond to certain notes or certain music, or they act accordingly. Why? Because there is a vibration. There is a science behind it, right? Oh, let me see what's going on. Folk in the chat chatting. What's going on, brother Isu? Shout out to the fan. One Voice Africa. Shout out. Yeah, we're back. Like brother Ferguson said, we're back to school. Yeah. I really appreciate you guys bearing with me. But yeah, we back in this thing. But I have a bonus. You see what I'm saying? You came just in time. You're not late. But yeah, this is gonna be great. I really appreciate before we go further, I'd like to appreciate the fam for really bearing with me. I did lose my mother-in-law about a month and a half ago, and some other things happened, even like all the way up to today, where Princess Cam had a little fender bender. So, it's pretty interesting. She's okay, you know what I'm saying? But the car got a nice little line. God. So But it's all good. She's okay. Prince Josh is okay. Everybody's fine. So, but I had to go live today. We got to do it. We got to do it. Right. Let's go. So we have sacred barques or boats. Right. The barques are small portable shrines where were carried during the festival processions, yet remain stored in secret rooms for the majority of the year. Okay. These weren't, say, just little boats where they just put. There's one big one that was buried next to the the largest pyramid in Giza. But yeah, they had others, right? And they were complex and sacred machines. Okay, the bark of Amun or the solar boat of Amun, the hidden one, the Userhat Amun, the Userhat Amun. This was carved from precious wood, probably cedar from the forest of Lebanon, Brother Ferguson. They probably didn't have a lot of wood in Egypt. Where did they get that wood from? They probably got it from the tall cedars of Lebanon. I'm just saying. And they took it from this up the Nile River, and they covered it in gold leaf. And it had this is one of them. This is one of the symbols here, but it's a proud and stern shape like the ram's head. The central shrine, the naos, where the statue rested. Okay, the carrying pose for the priesthood to bear it over their shoulders, like the Ark of the Covenant, like in the Old Testament, and protective urae, the cobras, wajet, and elaborate paintings and inlays depicting the creation mythology. Now, each was positioned along visible energetic pathways within the temple because every row, every aisle wasn't superficial. It produced a power. It produced a energy. Yes, sir. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yep. The tall cedars. Yeah. Yeah. Hold on. I got something else. I got something else for you. Yeah. And so each was positioned and it connected to the hypostyle hall to the inner sanctuaries. The placement wasn't random, like I said before. These boats rested at specific points where the temple's energetic currents converged. It was energy. It wasn't just stone. It wasn't just rock. It was energy, right? And so now, but we're gonna get ready. We're gonna break this down right here really soon because I have another episode coming up. The solar barks of Ra, the day and the night, day, night, and the hidden journey of the sun. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that because there were some people on that boat. Yeah, yeah, there's people on that boat. So get ready for that. See what happens when you give me some off time. I start finding out other stuff. Right. And so dealing with the objects, even objects as simple as they are, as small as they are, they were symbolic. Carvings of papyrus and lotus reminded priests that all life of creation flowed from the hidden one. The lotus, which closes at night and opens at the dawn, or the zephyr at dawn, or kafade, symbolizes the daily rebirth of the sun. I saw a student says, "I'm a new person every day." And that student didn't realize that they was kind of presenting or telling us a comedic science that you're renewed every day. Okay, the papyrus growing in the marshes where order meets chaos represented the liminal space between creation and the primordial waters of Nun. Okay, offering tables were inscribed with Nasu, Nasu, an offering which the king gives, establishing that all the offerings flowed through the pharaoh to the people, and of course, it comes from the ancestors. Now, the Jed pillar. Okay, the Jed pillar. Okay, it's a special sacred object, including the Jed pillar representing Osiris's backbone, by extension, stability, and endurance. Okay, the Jed pillar, when ritualistically raised during the Hebset festival, symbolizes the resurrection of Osiris and the renewal of the king's vitality. Right. Then we have the Ankh. Okay, the Ankh, of course, everybody knows that is the symbol of life. It was held by priests doing blessing ceremonies pointed towards the pharaoh or towards offerings or people, and it was understood as a conduit through which the divine life force flowed, right? But all these things had a multi-layered meaning, right? We talking about the rituals, we talking about the statues, sacred containers. There was instruments of cosmic order amplifying the presence of the Neteru, the ancestors, and within the temple, and allowing the priests to mediate between them and learn from them. Yeah, it's something. Every object had multiple layers of meaning. Practical, it had symbolic meaning and spiritual meaning. Practically, a bronze bowl wielded water for purification. Symbolically, that water represented the primordial waters of Nun, which creation emerged. Spiritually, when blessed with the correct words, because they had to be right and exact, that water became charged with divine energy, capable of purifying and baptizing not just the physical dirt, but removing spiritual impurities. And so together they form a network of power, a hidden architecture of sacred energy, invisible to outsiders, but essential to the balance of Ma'at, or the balance of the people, right? And these objects require consistent maintenance. You have the entire papyri, the workshop text, and you had the coffin text and the book of coming forth by day describing how to repair damaged statues, how to rebuild them. Specialized craftsmen worked in the temple. But hold on, before we go further, hold on. Now, if you want, for the new people, I got a lot of new people. Shout out to the new family that just joined us. If you want a free, quick, committed guide, if you want a quick guide to get this breakdown, like and comment, decode, and we'll get that for you. Okay, like and comment, decode, and we'll get that for you. All right. Yeah. Get a quick guide, and we'll send that to you, and you'll enjoy it. And if you're enjoying the content so far, like and subscribe so you don't miss anything. You see what I'm saying? We are back in full effect, and we got some work to do, right? Let's go. So now, really quick, archaeologists have found thousands of objects buried together, from broken statues to worn-out systems to fragmentary ritual texts. Now, a lot of these artifacts aren't found in Egypt. A lot of these artifacts are not found in Egypt. They are found in they are found in Nubia. I'm just going to let you know, in the Swan, or in the southern area. Okay, let me see if I can, because Sister Linda is asking. Let me see if I can get that for you real quick before we move on. I like to honor the humble request of our illustrious fam. So that's very important. Let me see if I get that for you. Hold on. Okay. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy it and paste it. Boom. There you go. So yeah, just click that and go from there. And so yeah, a lot of the people, they still looking under the sands of Egypt, and a lot of this knowledge is in the Aswan area and in Nubia. And somebody did, speaking of Nubia and Sudan, somebody did mention they basically made a blanketed statement saying that you guys are talking about ancient Nubia, not modern Sudan. Bro, we do that all the time, but we do understand that there is it's a lot going on, and it's tragic that's what's happening in Mother Sudan right now. Thoughts and prayers going to our beloved Sudan, and we know that there's some external forces that are trying to really strip East Africa of their manpower and resources, right? So yeah, that's what that is. But now dealing with the living power, what catches my attention is how Egyptian people of Kemet understood that these objects were seen as living things. It wasn't metaphorical, it was a symbolic, it was living. Properly consecrated statue didn't just represent the hidden one, it contained the ancestors' essence and power. It could see, hear, receive offerings, grant blessings, and all the things. This understanding shaped how priests interacted with these objects. See what I'm saying? It did. And so they didn't handle them casually. They approached them with respect, recited the protective formulas, maintained purity. The hidden chambers of Karnak were filled with these powerful objects. Okay. And so now we talked about the sacred relics. Now we're going to get into the hidden chambers. Now we're going to go further. Now we got the inner chamber, and I got a bonus, and I got a little Q&A, and I'm chicken roll. There's a lot of ands. But yeah, so if you just not getting here, you came just in time, because we're about to go further south with it. We're finna go further into the surface. Now we're going to go even deeper, literally. Okay. I mean literally. So now we're going to go into those spaces and that remained hidden for over centuries. Beneath the blazing sun of Waset lies the world few ever see, a world of shadow corridors, sealed crypts, and sacred silence. Now, the temple of Karnak, known to the people of ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet as Opet, Isut, or Waset, right? Or the most selected places, right? It wasn't just a outer sanctuary where the hidden one and the Neteru would hang out, but this also reflected his person's body, a living map of heaven and the Duat, right? When we speak of, say, the hidden chambers of Amun, we are not just chasing fantasy or myth. These chambers actually exist. I've been reading up on this information. Like I said, I have notes and some more notes. Yeah, so yeah, I've been reading up on this new information. For many years, I thought that it was just this. It was just the external, but there's some underground chambers underneath all of this, built before everything else. Yeah. And now, granted, there was some during Cleopatra's era that built around that too, but it's still amazing to know that there were subterranean chambers under here, right? And so when we speak of the hidden chambers, we're not just talking about like fantasy or some kind of idea, right? We're talking about things that are beneath the light of thieves. These are some of those chambers here. Okay, at the height of his glory, Karnak was a sacred city into itself, layered with pylons, sanctuaries, and avenues of sphinxes, right? But below this grand ceremonial area, archaeologists have discovered and uncovered a network of crypt-like structures, sealed cellars, subterranean rooms, and enclosed shrines. Now, the most remarkable one is the one found beneath the temple of Osiris and Opet. Yes, there is a temple of Osiris. Yeah. And the temple of Osiris and Opet, and within the Osirian chapels. Okay. It's scattered through the northwestern precinct. Let me show you. The temple of Osiris. Let me see if I can. I'm gonna have a different map of this, but it's the temple of Osiris is around here. Okay, but we'll get to that in a second. Okay, now these were not just, they weren't tombs in a conventional sense. They were sacred vaults, houses of rest for the divine and for the divine essence of Amun and Osiris, embodying the idea that the ancestors, the Neteru, would die and then would be reborn in the darkness beneath the earth. Okay, so now we have the Khoiak festival and the Osirian mysteries. Yeah. This is what Brother Ferguson and Brother Mo been waiting on. See what I'm saying? I've been waiting on this one. Now, during the Platonic period, this is the latter dynasties. Okay, priests carved small Osirian catacombs beneath certain sanctuaries, narrow corridors lined with niches, each once holding a small figure of Osiris wrapped in linen and resin. Now, hundreds of these votives were entered annually during the Khoiak festival. And now the Khoiak festival uh, happens every year, and it will be during the month of December. Hmm. So this is when the time where the mysteries of Osiris' death and resurrection was reenacted. So let me get this straight. During this festival, during the month of Khoiak, okay, some people would say December, some would say October, November. I think we're at the best time, right? Priests would create small figures of Osiris from the Nile mud mixed with grain. These corn mummies were shaped in wooden molds and then was planted with seeds. Okay, so these little mummies were shaped and then planted with seeds, and as the grain sprouted, it symbolized Osiris's resurrection. The greening grain emerging from the dark earth as was resurrection made visible. Okay, these figures or figurines were then mummified, wrapped in linen, placed in small coffins, and entered in the underground chambers during the elaborate nighttime ceremonies. And remember, as we approach December, as we approach the winter solstice, that is the longest nights of the year. Okay, the hidden chambers beneath Karnak became both a womb and a tomb, symbolic places where the Neteru uh, gestated between the worlds, traveled between the earth and the Duat. Also, during this time, you have the Osiris, and the ritual of the giving of cool water. We'll talk about that in a second too. Now, dealing with the temple, the temple of Kemet, the temple of Karnak. Okay, it was seen as a body, right? The outer course represented the visible world, as we talked about before, the realm of light and order and Ma'at. The innermost sanctuaries, right here, okay, right here, the Jesseru, the innermost sanctuaries that was dark and enclosed, representing the heart and soul of the divine. But beneath all of this, okay, beneath these hidden from all that, this is the only place the high priest would go. And they would then later see the divinity in the subterranean realm, symbolizing the God's connection to the primordial waters of Nun. Now, archaeologists surveyed around Karnak and revealed, and that's what I'm going to read to you a little bit later, revealed that several of its smaller shrines, particularly those dedicated to Amun-ra and Osiris, contain crypts under their floors. We're going to get to that in a second. These were sometimes accessed through small trap doors behind the altars, and there was winding staircases, or there was some that was along sanctuary walls. Inside those spaces, priests stored sacred statues, papyri, ritual oils, and even fragments of the Neteru's bark. You know, a little shrine, they get a little wood from that. Then you have the 9 crypts of Opet. We have the Osirian temple here. Then we had the Opet temple. One now beneath the temple of Opet, Opet contains 9 separate crypts. Okay, arranged in a pattern reflecting the Ennead. We talked about the Ennead at the dawn of creation before, the 9 primordial forces born from the hidden one. Okay, it is basically a living diagram of cosmology, right, rendered in architecture. Each crypt measures only about 2 meters deep, barely enough room for a priest to descend into, uh, barely enough room for anybody going to that space, but within that confined space, profound rituals were unfolded, right? So, like I said, each crypt was only so big, and darkness was absolute. The only light that came through was the light from the oil lamps. The air was thick and intense, and thick with incense. And in that sensory deprivation, consciousness altered. Okay, yeah. And so the priests who descended into these crypts were enacting the journey through the duat. And we talked about that journey of the 12 gates. We talked about how the ancestors would go through the 12 gates and have to go and give a password to each one of the Netarus at each hour of the night to view the midnight sun. Right? And so these priests descended into these crypts were enacting the journey through the duats, through the 12 gates. They became Osiris, or depending on the era, they became Amun, experiencing death and disillusion, awaiting resurrection. Okay, now this is some of the process, right? And then we have the Temple of Osiris, and then we have the chapel of we have the crypts of Opet, and then we have the chapel of Taharqa, the underground chambers. The chapel of Taharqa near Karnak's sacred lake. Now it is the chapel of Taharqa is right up here. Okay, the tomb of Osiris and the Opet temple, all that is right up, like I said, right around the back. Okay, and so the chapel of Taharqa, these chambers echo the idea that every ritual of renewal must pass through darkness before emerging into light. Every ritual went from darkness to light, just as the sun's journey through the duat each night to rise again at dawn. Then we had King Taharqa, the Kushite pharaoh who revitalized the ancient Egyptian knowledge, or the ancient Kemetic knowledge in the 25th dynasty. He understood that these mysteries, he understood them deeply. Why? Because he came from Nubia, right? His additions to Karnak reflected a profound grasp and understanding of both solar and lunar theology. Okay. The underground chambers beneath his chapel connected directly to the sacred lake above, right here. Okay. So water would seep down through the stone, keeping the chambers perpetually damp, and a recreation of the primordial waters. And so the crypts beneath Karnak were not meant for everybody. It wasn't for everybody. Okay, only the initiated priests, only those who was known as servants, or the Kari Heb, or the Heb Nature, okay, would be able to enter. Everybody couldn't go. And so their duties would sometimes include divine secrecy, preparing small figures of Osiris, burying offerings, and performing rites of resurrection that mirrored the cycles of nature. In many temples, now, here we go. In many temples of Egypt, including Edfu, this is Edfu, the temple of Edfu, and Dendera, inscriptions, the meta nature describe these lower chambers. There are, bro, I just found out. Wait a minute. I found out that not only Karnak has subterranean chambers, but Dendera does too. Yeah. It's about to roll. So Dendera and Edfu, there's meta nature describing these lower chambers as places of mysteries, places of the mysteries of the Netaru. They were called these Set Au, the hidden ones. Okay, so I think this is what I think. Okay, we had Dendera, which was dedicated to my understanding, Heteru, and then we had Edfu, right, which is for Amun. I think that these two temples, y'all like and comment below. Let me know. These two temples represented the female and male energy in those areas of Kemet. What do you think? Like and comment below. Do you think that Dendera and Edfu were polar opposites representing that divine masculine and divine feminine? Okay, let me know. So entering the chamber, entering this chamber was a form of entering that sacred space. Okay, like the Skynetter with the Nut entering that that sacred space. Each ritual performed below ground represent a spiritual descent further into those sacred spaces of knowledge. The priests became followers of Osiris, depending on the era, reenacting the Neteru's passage through the underworld. Okay, the walls, though adorned in most surviving examples, once bore traces of pigment and symbols of rebirth. The jed pillars, the lotus, and the falcon emerging from the tomb. And then they had repositories of divine power. These chambers also served as power. Within them, they stored amulets, talismans, and sacred writings that carry essence of creation, right? Some texts suggest that these items were periodically brought out during great events and great festivals like Opet and Khoiak. When the hidden Neteru emerged in processional form to unite with the visible world, uh, foundation deposits buried beneath the temple. They would put other treasures beneath the temple during this construction, which include miniature tools of pottery and inscribed plaques. These weren't just commemorative, they were energetic anchors binding the Neteru and the temple to the people. And of course, in that dark space below the temple, that represents the womb. I think Brother Louis Farrakhan, he calls that triple darkness, right? Beneath every temple lay a metaphysical mirror, the underworld of the Neteru. To the people of Kemet, creation began not just in the sky, but in darkness, in the depths of the Newton. From the watery abyss, the first mound upon which Amun appeared as the self-created one, right? So the chambers beneath Karnak symbolize the womb of creation, the point where Amun's energy gestated before manifesting visible order and power. Okay, so in later centuries, the Osirian crypts reinforced this idea, merging Theban solar theology with the resurrection cycle of Osiris or Osir. The hidden chambers became places where two great mysteries, creation and resurrection, was put together. Now, of course, there was modern discovery. Recently, excavations by French Institute of Oriental Archaeology and the Center of Franco-Egyptian de Temples de Karnak have mapped many of these subterranean areas since the late 20th century. So a lot of this information is just now coming out, right? The Osiris catacombs show votive offerings and niches for sacred figures. The Opet temple crypts reveal complex chamber arrangements linked to seasonal rituals. The Taharqa chapels, underground rooms, suggest royal purification functions. All of this just came out like the last 25 to 30 years. And even today, many of these sections remain inaccessible or unexcavated, sealed beneath centuries of sediment and stone. Some chambers may have collapsed or been intentionally sealed in antiquity to preserve the sanctity of their contents, or I would like to believe some of these places are not for the public because it would show that it would just further that narrative that the people of Kemet were African, or more specifically, they came from the South. You see what I'm saying? They're not able to paint them light as of yet. But they have ground penetrating radar that has revealed anomalies beneath several structures, possible chambers not yet opened. The full extent of Karnak's underground network remains unknown. Okay, archaeologists approach these areas with both scientific precision and reverence, aware that each discovery touches on a millennia of old tradition secrecy, right? Then we have the inner temple. And when you walk through Karnak, when you think about Karnak today, sunlight, you deal with the sunlight and all these people in the Hypostyle hall and the tourists, they trace their fingers across the carved names of the kings, but beneath all of that lies something else under Karnak. The people of Kemet built their temples not just as monuments, but as maps of existence, as sacred science. The hidden chambers beneath them remind us that the divine is always layered And what we see is only surface of what truly is actual and factual. So in the darkness below the temple of the hidden one, the Neteru still sleep. But now, let's get with this bonus. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. Of course, we talk about the hidden one and the hidden spaces, but guess what we finna do? We finna get in this bonus. We finna get on this bonus, y'all. All right, but before we do, before we get to that bonus, I got a question. Yeah, yeah, it does make sense. Dealing with Dendera and Edfu being masculine and feminine because Dendera is dedicated to Heteru, right? And we forget in the Kemetic priesthood there were men and women, right? But let's get to the question. Here we go. Be crowned in Nubia or initiated in Kemet. That's what I got. Let me know. Like and comment below. Be crowned in Nubia or initiated in Kemet. Now, shout out to some of the family at Swan. They broke it down. They broke this science down. They said a lot of the kings in Kemet were crowned in Nubia anyway. But I'm asking the people: be crowned in Nubia or initiated in Kemet. Here we go. Now, here's the bonus: the cult of Osiris. Now, this is what I have. I had this. Let me get this. See this nice little article here, which I have taken the time out to break down, and we're going to break down a little bit of this. This is called the Osirian cult in temples, crypts in Egypt during the Greco-Roman period. I think it's by Sarah El Said Kitat. Okay, this is from the Faculty of Tourism and Hotels at Alexandria University. So, yeah, this is a nice little article here, and it breaks things down. I do have the link there in the description. But yeah, we're gonna do a little bit of story time, a little bit of reading in this, right? So, because it says this, Osiris was described to be the Neteru of the underworld who dwelled in the darkness. A description which perfectly applies on the crypt of the temple immersed in darkness away from the eyes of the worshipers. Now, they describe the crypt as this. By definition, according to these scholarship, and this was written in 2017, by the way. This was written recently. This is not something that was written 50 years ago. This just came out. Okay. They describe the crypt as a hidden chamber temple in the temple, often underground, but frequently also in the upper parts of the temple. So it can be underground, but it also can be above ground, a place where statues and ritual equipment were kept, right? And so now they go on to say this: this crypt was regarded as a sacred space. It was regarded by the ancient Egyptians, the tomb of Osiris, where the king could identify with him. Okay, so in the crypt, this is where the king would identify with Osiris. Yeah. But first say initiating Kemet. Yeah, me too. I'll be in line too. Yeah. So this concept appeared firstly in the Unas, or the old king entered when the old king entered his crypt. That is the papyrus of Unas, or the pyramid text. Okay, this is the pyramid text right here. The sunset. The king entered the crypt at the sunset, being identified with the god or Neteru Ra Atun, the manifestation of the evening sun. And the word crypt here refers mainly to the burial chamber inside the pyramid, right? And in the crypt, the king spent the night, and by this way became united with Osiris, the Neteru of the world, or the Duat, right? In the fusion of the royal mummy of the king. Now, by the fifth dynasty, they would become more elaborate, where they have the they would have this other space where the deified king left his resting place through the antechamber of the crypt and starts a new life, ascending to the sunrise in the form of the Neteru Re Harukati, or the Ba. Okay, now, and like I said, by the fifth dynasty, the offering halls were introduced to the pyramid architecture. So the king received food offerings in his crypt, and now crypts can be, as we've seen in the definition, can be underground chambers, but it also could be a crypt, right? It could be the burial chamber. So in this case, when it come down to the pyramid text, and when it come down to the kings, they were put in a crypt or in a burial chamber. So, but by the fifth dynasty, the offering halls were introduced to the pyramids, the pyramid architecture in Kemet. Thus, and so the king received food offerings in his crypt and left after that by using the false door. I told you guys. The false door was not to trick, like a lot of Europeans would say. The false door was not there to trick grave robbers. The false door was meant for the ancestors to go from here to the Duat and back. Yeah. Somebody, another scholar mentioned it. Yep. And so this ritual was documented in the pyramid text as well as the Abusir papyri. Okay. Now, regarding the crypt of the temple, okay, and it's as the tomb of Osiris continued to be found in temples architecture. So the tomb of Osiris was seen or put on display almost everywhere. Many historians declared that sacred religious function of these hidden spaces or places, for example, like Plutarch, a Greek historian, Plutarch, described these galleries to be the place for the gods, or the place for the Neteru. The crypt in Habis temple at Karnak Oasis was used as a sacred tomb for Osiris. Now, the text of Dendera's temple described the crypts as a mysterious corridor leading to the mysterious places in connection with the ceremonies of the new year. Listen, so these crypts were not just burial places or those kind of things. Now, in the temple of Dendera, they describe these crypts as mysterious corridors leading to the mysterious places. Okay, and now, and of course, the Edfu temple had chapels of the Neteru for the, and it described the Ennead, right? The nine. Okay, and part of the inscriptions of the in Edfu's temple says that his crypt, or Osiris's crypt, is so deep that all his walls and roofs are inaccessible. Yeah. In Edfu's temple says that Osiris's crypt is deep, all his walls and roofs are inaccessible. Now, the southern, and get this, both the Edfu text and the Temple of Dendera describe there's a procession that happens during the New Year festival that refers to the crypts as chapels and the holy place, or the Jesser Jesseru. And get this, the festival normally happens once a year, right? Both the Southern Crypt and the Western Crypt and Dendera's temple represent the pantheon of Edfu and Dendera. So these two crypts, like I told you earlier, that Edfu and Dendera were kind of polar opposites. They were not opposing, but they were balanced. There was that balance that Kemet needed, right? And so Edfu had something and Dendera had something, and they complemented each other. Okay. Now, according to the depicted scenes, the pantheon of Dendera consisted of 11 Neteru. Osiris is depicted as the 10th one in order. He was the 10th in order and was named Osiris, the victorious one. Okay. And in Edfu, it was 11. But now, in Dendera's temple, the Western Crypt, was a certain significance. It was very significant to the Osirian group. Why? Because that the western part of the temple is the same direction where the sun sets. And in this chamber, in this chamber, okay, you notice the western crypt on the eastern wall of that western crypt, the shape of Osiris's throne is there. Okay, showing that he is now resurrected. So we have the western crypt, and on the eastern wall, we have a throne of Osiris, right? And so in that, Osiris was venerated in the temple of Dendera, okay, in where darkness dwells in this place, right? He was described as Osiris who presides over the west, the king of the two who lives in Ermont, right? And get this, there is a large portion of Dendera that's dedicated to the discussion of the hours of the day. You see what I'm saying? And get this, in the crypts of Dendera, all right, there are 12 hidden chambers. 12. I wonder what they represent. 12 hidden chambers. Now that, because I haven't really did the knowledge on Dendera, but yeah, they had 12 hidden chambers. You see what I'm saying? And the sacred statues of Osiris were depicted as a falcon-headed, falcon-shaped statues. Okay. All right. So we have the ceremonies there that was held in those chambers. The ceremony began from the darkness of the crypt, representing the netherworld of Osiris, or the tomb, to the all the way up to the sunlight outside of the temple. Now, by the Potomac period, the Wabat rooms, okay, became connected with the Osirian cult. Okay, the edifice of Taharqa was also connected to that. Okay, so the crypts of the Opet temple were related to the rites performed at the temple. Okay, so now, and this little festival happens every year. But get this, there's a temple crypt. There's temple crypts of Osiris. It goes deeper than that. So the festival of Khoiak was celebrated in certain temples during the Greco-Roman period. According to Plutarch, this festival began on the 19th day of the month of Atir. Okay, this began basically in the fall. Okay, the main purpose, here you go. The main purpose behind these rituals was to achieve the mystical resurrection or raising of Osiris. Yep. These chambers and these kings that were either being laid to rest or being duly initiated. All of them, the purpose for these chambers, these sacred rituals, the main purpose was to achieve the mystical resurrection of Osiris. And this one is on the eastern wall of Dendera. Okay, symbolizing the tomb of Osiris temple. Temple crypts became apparently the starting point of all the festivals of celebration. And get this, certain papyri describe the ceremonies of this festival, mainly the papyrus of the Vatican. So the Vatican, the Roman Catholic Church, I don't normally get into all that. I don't normally deal with all that. But since they're mentioning this papyrus of Vatican, we know for a fact that the Vatican, the Roman Catholic Church, has a lot of Kemetic information in its chambers. I don't normally deal with that. I don't normally get into all that. I don't, you know me. I kind of stay out the way when it comes down to that kind of stuff. But since it's mentioned, we know for a fact that the Roman Catholic Church has a lot of African knowledge in there. The first papyrus is concerned with the rebirth of Osiris, which occurred in the temple of Opet at Karnak. That's the reason why we dealt with Karnak like that. And these rituals, a lot of these were recited on the 26th of Khoiak. Now, some people would say Some scholars will believe it's in October, November. Others believe it's during the winter solstice. Okay, when the night is the longest. Yeah, you're right. They can't hide it forever. No, they can't. Yeah, even though the more they hide the information, the more they start putting that stuff on, the more they start wearing that stuff. Right? Yeah, yeah. And so the Temple of Opet was a place of remarkable Osirian festivals, which were spectacular as well as rare. But these celebrations were held to recall the phases of the Osirian myth in the secret crypts, right? In the secret crypts of the basement and the corresponding chambers. Concerning these two crypts of the floors, whose functions are still obscure, they house once divine images. In each shrine, in each crypt, had a Netaru there. You said, I was about to say the same thing to Brother Ferguson. Yeah. There you go. See, I didn't see that comment. You threw that comment in there and say, there you go, starting something. See, here's the thing. That's what happens when y'all give me this much time off. I start reading stuff. The papyrus of the Vatican, bro. Yeah, they got that. They got that information. Yeah, they got that, and they got all that. I'm just saying. So and then they tell us that a lot of things that we do is wrong and evil. But like Brother Theo B. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. So the two crypts of the Opet festival flank the sanctuary and open the two rooms which were consecrated for the worship at the temple, as they preserve the sacred objects of Osiris and Aset. Now, directly beneath, under the shrine, under the temple of Opet, is the shrine of Aset. There's a crypt arranged to receive the statue of Aset. This statue was placed to stand above the recesses where the relics of the Netaru Osiris must have been kept. So this was a place where Aset would be, being the place which recalls the birth of Osiris. The location of the Isis statue in the crypt, directly beneath the shrine of the temple, commemorates this sacred event. Now, this was done. This excavation team discovered all of this between the years of 2006 and 2007. They just recently discovered a lot of this. So all these subterranean chambers are just now coming out. Just like Brother Esu said, they can't hide it forever. They just keep finding more stuff, right? They just keep finding more information. Okay. And so statues were discovered in these crypts for the Opet temple and at Karnak. They were found in crypts beneath the northern worship halls, commemorating the resurrection of Osiris, and the southern halls showing the birth of Heru. Yeah, so there was small statues and figurines and shrines everywhere. Even now, we think that when these temples are open to the public and displayed, they're done researching them. They're done digging stuff. They're done finding stuff. They keep finding new things at Karnak. Yeah. Then we have Khonsu. Okay, Khonsu, which is in the back of the temple of Opet. Okay, and so and get this, Brother Ferguson and Miss Blue, get this. Now, at the back or the southern part, the south gate of the temple of Karnak, we have Khonsu. Okay, and at the back door of the temple of Opet gives access to the chapel located under the sanctuary. So there's a back door. There's a back door to Karnak's temple. Okay, and there's a chapel located under the sanctuary. Okay, and there is a staircase. Let me see if I can share the screen. I want to share it. Let me see if I can share this screen. Y'all gonna love this. Y'all gonna dig this. This is the staircase. This is the staircase at the back of the Opet temple at Karnak. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. This door confirms that the two temples are shared. They shared right there. They shared festival. They shared religious events and rituals. The rituals of Osiris. So the function of the staircase is a topic of debate. People don't know. Okay. Among the several opinions, this staircase is apparently used by visitors and mainly priests coming in from the Khonsu temple to the Opet temple. So they was going back and forth and back. You know, two different groups were meeting at the same building, may not be at the same time, but they was able to move back and forth. You see what I'm saying? And so this hypothesis is confirmed by the location of the staircase, having the same axis of the basement chapel at the rear back of the Opet temple and the side door of the temple of Khonsu. So the staircase suggests the existence of a crypt which was used during foundation rituals. Now let me see. And this is the crypts of the temple of Opet. See these chambers here? This is below the temple. You have these pillars here. You have stairs. Yeah. Now this is in French. So for my French speaking fam, help me out with that. So Crypte des statues secrets du rituel. Yeah, so these were the areas where they put the statues. Yeah, this is for Osiris right here. This is for Heru right here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is the presence of the Osirian believers in the two temples might explain the architectural connection. In the temple of Khonsu, and the inscription on the southwest gate of the courtyard describes Osiris Ono Faris, making it possible in Opet to renew itself. On the southern wall, of the northwest chapel, Osiris is represented lying on his deathbed, washed over by Osiris and Nephthys and the Babur, which we had earlier, right? And so, yeah, this is the image here, okay, in the temples, okay, and so the living Osiris, who appears in the scene of the upper register on the eastern wall, with the accompanying inscription. So in the west, he's lying down, and in the east, he basically arises in the form of the light beside the temple of Khonsu. Okay, so on the other hand, some people say the Osiris myth was represented in the temple of Opet on a larger scale. Okay, not just in subterranean chambers, right? Seen from the north room, mainly the second register in the north wall, Osiris appears lying on the bed. The text under that says Nut gave birth to Osiris. Okay, inside the per Epit Wordet, or the western side of the house of Khonsu. Okay. Now, in addition to that, remaining the staircase, it shows like 600 like they have graffiti all over the roof there. They have graffiti. They discovered graffiti on the roof of the temple of Khonsu. These inscriptions were engraved by the Wa'ab priests. So these were ancient graffiti. They're graffiti written by the ancient priests, divine fathers and prophets, lectors and lector priests, administrators, and they were written by the clergy there. Part of this graffiti represented figures relevant to the lunar cult of Osiris. So, and they did these rites of passage at night. Mm-hmm. And so the staircase seems to be constructed after the decoration of the chapel. So they probably added this a little bit later on, right? And so, yeah, so we have a winding staircase, we have subterranean chambers, we We have people drawing graffiti everywhere. Man. And then we have Muntu. Okay, Muntu in the crypt. They describe Muntu, where Muntu and Osiris became one. Okay, doing this was during the funerary rites. Okay, religious. There's a religious relation between Muntu and Osiris. It shows it emphasized through the rites of the Jami on the 26th of Khoiak, 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 and the offerings to the primitive Neteru. Okay, so in these crypts, they have things like Muntu Ray, or the Lord of Aramant, a king of the Neteru, and then they have Osiris, who's members of of the fathers, full of the fathers of all the Neteru. Okay, and so they have that connection between those two. Okay, and then we have this. Okay, and there's always some kind of libation going on. There's always libation involved, right? And so get this, there is a ritual, there is a process where it's called Osiris and the ritual of giving cool water. What we do as a people, we will pour libations for the ancestors or for those who are not here, right? And so in the southern crypt, okay, of Dendera's temple, 4 divinities are depicted receiving libations from the king. These deities, these Neteru are Hathor or Heteru, Osiris, Isis, and Osiris or Harsiris. Okay, I think that may be Haru, not sure, but it spells Harsiris. The king is depicting pouring libation, pouring water, and presenting a vase of plant to Osiris, who is depicted here in standing position. Okay, wearing the Etef crown, right? And so we're going to break this down. We're going to break some of this down. We're going to share the screen one more time because we're gonna deal with this. All right, so we're gonna deal with the ritual of giving cool water because there is some meta nature in this one, right? It is some meta nature. We got to do that. We got to do that. All right, so let me see if I can. Oh, not that one. There we go. Okay, here we go. Now, here's the ritual of giving cool water. Now, this is the meta nature right here. Okay, all right, and it says this. Okay, it says D kabahu merit with an F merit neter duat or duut, giving cool water to him, came God of the other world. Okay, neter. Okay, neter, that's God. Okay, duat or duut, the other world. Normally we see that with the little star right there. That's the duat, right? Okay, and the same water. Okay, the same water libation is practiced by the king in the presence of 2 seated divinities, namely Harsomotus and Osiris. The scene is found in the northern wall. So this scene of pouring libation, giving cool water, it shows this is also done. These spells are done from the pyramid text. So this is an ancient custom. Okay, this is an ancient custom in afterlife. So it says spells from the pyramid text reveal the role of Osiris as the Neteru, the god of the world, who controlled over the cold water in the afterlife. He is described to be the only one who can give the deceased king this water. Okay, for instance, spell 32, the pyramid text, like Brother Mo, he peeped it. Okay, he says this is Kahabu Epen Wusu Kabahu Epen Hawu. Okay, this cold water is yours, O Osiris. Now, Osiris, this symbol here, ironic, this is the symbol of Osiris right here. Okay, this little eye with the little chair right there, that's Osiris, Osar. Okay, this cold water, you see it pouring, is yours. Okay, it belongs to you. Okay, so that is the ritual of giving cool water. But then it goes even further than that. It goes a little bit more than that. Okay, spell 436 in the pyramid text is called the Kibhu, giving cool water. It says Did Hitmedu Mawu Kanek Behek Kanek. Okay, you have your water, you have your flood. Here you go. You have your water, okay? All right, that's the thing. You give the ancestors what is required, what they want, and then it goes into rediru premonitor, the fluid which issues from the god of the nectar. You see the flag there, okay? That represents the nectar. If it's multiple flags, it's netaru. All right, and then next one it says Haut Perit Wisser, okay, or Asar, right? The exudation, okay, which issued from Osiris. Okay, this type of water is given from him. Okay, this exudation is coming from Osiris himself. Okay, so therefore the deceased king was purified or baptized with the fresh water of Osiris to be resurrected once more in the duat of the other world. So it says therefore the deceased king was usually depicted offering cool water to Osiris. He is confessed that he watered the land of Egypt in the honor of Osiris. He basically saying this like the 42 negative confessions of Ma'at. He's saying, I have done right by your people. I've done right by these people. You see what I'm saying? And remember, this is a different era. Okay, this is the pyramid text, so it's referring to Osar, right? So this is before the new kingdom where they was behind Amun, right? So Asar basically ran the show this time, right? And so in the book of Coming Forth by Day, it says, "O Osiris, I am your son Haru. I came and I watered the banks. O Osiris, I am your son Haru or Horus. I came and I built canals for you. Okay, O Osiris, I am your son Haru. I came and brought to you cold water from Elephantine to make your heart flesh or fresh. I'm sorry." And so, yeah, this is the little article that broke all this down. You understand me? So it was great. And let me see if we get some more of these pictures here before we move on. All right. Now, at the very bottom, like let me see if I there we go. At the end, towards the end of the article, that it has this. It has all these wonderful images of the of the of these different chapels, of these different chambers. This is Osiris here, okay, next to Isis and Nephthys. And these are the bulls right here, the bull-headed Neteru holding ropes or a cable tow, followed by a lion-headed Neteru. Now we talked about the lion-headed Neteru Epidemic. I wonder, let me know, like and comment below. Let me know if this lion-headed Neteru was, what do you think? You think it was connected, had any connection to Epidemic or the Nubian Neteru? Okay. And so and it says then we have Osiris and his at his slaughterhouse. So they put in work out there. Okay. And these are the chambers that we talked about, right? These are the crypts of the Temple of Opet. Remember, the crypts are below the Temple of Opet at Karnak Temple. Okay. All right. So, and these are the staircases. So this information is great. Check it out. The link is in the description. Check it out. Okay. And it's so much wonderful information here. I do plan on breaking down the Temple of Dendera. I really am. And these numbers here are those chambers. Some of those chambers. It's 12, right? It's 12 chambers. Okay. And so yeah, we're gonna get into all that. So yeah, so this is great. This is great stuff. And we forget that there's so much to learn about Kemet. There's so much to learn about Egypt. In just taking this little break or whatever, that's what you want to call it, I learned a lot, right? And so I learned that these chambers existed. And so when people, just like when we discussed the labyrinth, remember Herodotus mentioned the labyrinth of Queen Sebekneferu and her father Amenemhat III. It's not too far fetched. See what I'm saying? And so now we have the priests doing their thing in the chambers to giving reverence and respect to Osar, right? And so here we are, basically the end of our journey through the hidden chambers of Amun and Osiris, as we learned, right? We walked through the sacred sanctuaries as where only priests could tread. We descended into the underground and learned some new things, right? Where Osirian mysteries unfolded in absolute darkness, right? And so even in silence, the hidden chambers still speak. Okay, they tell of a civilization that understood the unity of earth, sky, and spirit. The people of ancient Egypt or ancient Kemet didn't separate religion from science, art from mathematics, or spirituality from daily life. Everything was connected. Everything was interconnected. So the architecture of Karnak, okay, encoded astronomical observations, mathematical proportions, and spiritual principles simultaneously. And then we have a single column, wasn't just a structural support, but it was a papyrus plant, it was a map, it was a book. You see what I'm saying? Aligned with specific knowledge and in specific angles of it's so many things, right? And then there's the science of the sacred space through stone ritual and human devotion. Karnak preserved the secrets of the Netzeru, the wisdom of the kings, the past of priests who walk between worlds. Modern researchers are still discovering new things. We find out this article was written in 2017, and because they found something out in 2006 and 2007. We're not talking about 50 years ago. We're just talking about like a couple, like a decade or two ago, right? Modern researchers are still finding things groundbreaking, ground penetrating radar, acoustic analysis. These modern tools are revealing that Karnak was even more sophisticated than we ever thought. I just thought it was just the external, and that was it. There's chambers underground, bro. The temple was engineered to resonate at specific frequencies, and certain chambers amplify voices in particular ways. The alignment of structures to the stars and the sun and the moon tracks almost everything that was happening in and around the earth. This was not a primitive thing like a lot of people like to call our ancestors primitive. No, this was advanced spiritual technology. So what gets me though is the continuity of this, right? This is ongoing for over 2,000 years. Priests maintain these practices. Generation after generation, they preserve the rituals, maintain the chambers, guarded the mysteries. Okay. Think about that time. Think about that timeline, right? When the last priests of Amun were performing the rituals at Karnak during the Roman period, the Great Pyramid was already 2,500 years old. That's wow. The knowledge they preserved stretched back into basically time immemorial, back to pre-dynastic Kemet, back down to Nubia and Ethiopia. We're not done with Ethiopia, by the way. Back to the origins lost in the midst of time. And they understood their role as preservers of this knowledge. Okay. And so at the heart of it, stands that hidden chamber, stands Amun, the hidden one, or Osiris, depends on the era. Okay. The moment you think you captured this information, it's always something else. It's always something new. And so this is our responsibility. This is what we should do. Okay. These hidden chambers remain eternal. There are mysteries waiting for those who dare to listen, dare to pay attention, dare to write stuff down. Right. They're ready for us to walk in those corridors at Karnak. One day I'm going to visit. I'm going to go to Karnak and just observe and listen. And so conservation efforts are ongoing, but they need support. These aren't just Egyptian treasures, they're human heritage, wisdom. So by studying them, by getting that information, preserving them, writing down that knowledge and sharing their wisdom, we fulfill the ancient priests. We fulfill that role. We're now that the modern day ancient priests, basically. We become transmitters of the sacred knowledge. So think about this. What is that inner temple? What is that inner chamber? Basically, this: the crypt or the subterranean chamber is the human soul. All of that was representing the human soul. The Egyptians built these temples as it was supposed to represent a transformation from from the external into the internal. They understood that sacred architecture could guide the consciousness and walk through these spaces. Uh, it was a form of initiation. So when you think about these hidden chambers, remember they're not just ancient history, they're a map of consciousness, a guide to the sacred landscape within your own soul. The journey through Karnak, from the outer courts to the inner court to the Jesu to the subterranean chambers, that was a journey from light back into darkness into the soul. So there's some things we got to learn. There's some things we still have to learn. There's chambers that still whisper secrets. So my question is, will you listen? Will you pay attention? Will you look beyond the surface of things to perceive the hidden patterns, or you just say, oh, that's nice information and on to the next? Will you maintain your own inner temple with the same devotion of the priest, or you just move on? The ancient Egyptians believed that that knowledge properly spoken and properly spoken words and information would last forever. The sacred writing could transcend time. So the hidden one is still hidden, okay, and the mysteries are still there. Those eternal mysteries of creation, death, and rebirth continue their endless dance in the shadows of Waset and in the shadows of your own home. Yeah. So, yeah, that concludes our journey through the hidden chambers of Amun. But guess what? We're not done with that though. So we were done with Karnak and some of the chambers, but I would like to thank everybody for taking this little journey. For taking time out to opening your mind to these ancient mysteries, for allowing yourself to see beyond the tourist photographs and the textbook descriptions to glimpse something deeper, right? But check this out. If you want to go further, we will. Okay, this is the next episode here. The solar barques of Ra, the day and night, and the hidden journey of the sun. We're gonna get into that. But I got a question. I know the alumni are still here. They're still rolling with me because I ain't checked roll yet. But yeah, I have an idea. I'm thinking about this one. Either we're gonna go live with this one or another topic in a second. Got a question. Okay, like and comment below. Do you guys want us to our next live? Do you guys want to discuss the two solar barques of Ra or King Tut's tomb? Type King Tut or the boat. Like and comment below. Let me know. Okay, King Tut's tomb or the boat. Okay, so you just got to listen to the hidden chambers of Amun, the secret beneath the temple of Karnak. And so we got the hidden. We talked about the sacred relics, the hidden chambers, the inner chamber, and we talked about a bonus. Do we have time for Q&A? Let me know. And I'm about to check roll. Somebody said the boat already. Do King Tut's tomb or the boat? So let me know. Type in King Tut or the boat. All right. Yeah. So now here's some books. Okay, the Book of Gates, the Sacred Science. The affiliate links are in the description. Temple and Man, the Egyptian Miracle. These are great books if you ever want to get into some knowledge. A lot of these books have helped me do my research as to what I'm doing right now concerning the breakdown of Karnak as well as the other temples. But it also provided additional information to the other things. The people want to talk about the boat. Oh man, I think the people have decided. Yeah, we may have to go and do that. So yeah, the next live we'll do, unless other people pop up, the next one we will deal with the two boats or the barge of Ra, the day, night, and the hidden journey of the sun. We're gonna get into that. Okay, I think the alumni has graduated and they want to go to a higher level with this information. Might as well, right? Speaking of that, yours truly have a new book. This is our new ebook. Okay, you can pre-order it. The link is in the description. It's going to come out next December, this December 15th. You'll get the book out. For years we talked about Egyptian symbols, and I take for granted that people that people know what these are, right? So as a teacher, I decided to put a little book together. It is a ebook. The printed version will come out next spring, but we got the ebook that's coming out this December, Decoding the Symbols: A Beginner's Guide to Kemetic Spiritual Science by yours truly. All right. And so if you want a free quick guide, type like and comment decode, and we'll get you started with that. But yeah, this book is coming out this December 15th. Yep. So Ujumbe members, shout out to the Ujumbe fam, Abina sister, Abina Scott, brother Mo, brother Isu, One Voice Africa, and we got a new family member. We got a new member. Okay, Jacqueline Njai. Shout out to the Ujumbe members. They get the videos first, and they get the shorts. If we do shorts, they get all the information first. So shout out to them, and join the membership, because membership has its privileges, right? Now, I'm going to check roll. Miss Blue, shout out to Miss Blue, Brother Ferguson, Khalil Bryant. A lot of people have joined recently these last months. Khalil Bryant, Lynn Budin, Navi, Baba Yahya. Shout out to Baba Yahya. We're gonna have to bring him back, by the way. Sister Linda, Wendy, James, Tatinda, Elevator Light, Gladys, Valerie, Brother Fatah. Shout out to Brother Fatah, Melvin, and Harvey. Shout out to the fam. Yeah. I really appreciate it. Proud to you, teacher. I really appreciate it. This last month has been something, but when I'm off, I still have to read, I still have to study, and to prepare. But we got to do it right now. If you like the content, share with somebody that may enjoy it. Don't just share it on blast. Share, just share it with somebody who may enjoy it, or on Facebook or your social media of choice. Right now. So we're going to deal with King Tut's tomb, but I think the people want to talk about the boat. We're going to deal with the boat. But yeah, we're going to get with King Tut's tomb, the untold African story. We're going to get to that, because Brother Ferguson and Brother Rashad, if he's on, I got to deal with this. The shrine. Yeah, I got to deal with the shrine of King Tut. I got to deal with that. But not right now. But yeah. So subscribe if you want to know more about Ethiopia, Kush, and Kemet. Subscribe for more. And we got the 7 Heterus coming up. I'm not done with that. All right. And the 7 Hathors, Stars, Mothers, and the Judgment of Kings. Yeah. It's gonna be good. So this is the King Cam Ujumbe Podcast, and you made me his message. And we talked about the hidden chambers of Amun. Yeah. yeah. We're going there's something I've learned in the last month or so about this. Oh, and it came from this. Yeah. See, yeah, I've that shrine. Yeah, there's something about that. There's something about that shrine. See, when people go to various shrines and locations, they may be going to the wrong place, because me and Brother Ferguson, we talk when we realize that certain locations and spaces are not the special place or holy of holies like people would like it to be, but it's popular. Since this is popular, everybody gravitates towards the coffin, but they reject the shrine. I'm just saying. We're gonna leave that alone. We're gonna leave it. Yeah, but I really appreciate you guys for coming through. This is gonna be great. I'm really excited. And what we're gonna do, we're gonna try to keep our lives on Sunday. If not, it will be maybe on a Friday, because the family has been getting together on Sunday evenings and everything. And so you got to take time for family and everything. So we're gonna try to do something on a Friday, right? We're gonna try to do that. If not, I'll just keep you guys posted. Those who are on the new email list, those who are on the decode list, we got you. All right. But yeah, you listen to King Cam Ujumbe Podcast, and don't forget to like and subscribe and share with somebody that may enjoy it. And you just got to listen to the Hidden Chambers of Amun. And if you want to know more about Kemetic Science Unveiled, I got that playlist for you. And if you want to catch up with one of our videos, I got that too. Listen to King Cam Ujumbe Podcast, which made me his message, and I will Talk to you later.